So I want to discuss Confucianism and kind of get into, I guess, how Confucianism, in at least in the classical form, can be be like a humanism. And humanism is something I've discussed before, in briefly with respect to existentialism. Um, and that's kind of humanism is basically the idea that um, there isn't any sort of real purpose that is here. There's no um, one purpose that we can align ourselves with. There's no one reality or one purpose that we can um, sub subsume ourselves under. Um, but you know, and it's kind of also against any kind of lots of times it's lots of times it is against a sort of a godly thing. It's against any kind of God. It's against like a Christian sort of God or any kind of Abrahamic faith, because those faiths, you have a God which you can align yourselves under their purposes or their reality that they have. Um, so humanism is something that says that since there is no actual purpose that is here and that we can put ourselves in line with, we should be the ones to insert the purpose into our lives, and we can make it about the human and not try to look at something that is transcendent. Um, but we should. I've talked about humanism also with respect to Nietzsche, how Nietzsche is different from humanism. Um, Nietzsche is different from humanism in that humanism focuses on the man or the person, and that we should focus on the person and insert purpose into your own life, whether it be through doing any one certain thing or being any one certain way. We can insert purpose into our own lives and focus on us, the person. Nietzsche is not a humanist because he gives you the idea of the Ubermensch or the Overman, which goes beyond man, and that's not what humanism is. Um, um, Confucianism is a humanism in a way because it's about the person. Confucius makes it a lot about the person because you you try to align yourself with all these different virtues, and you better yourself. So first it starts with Li, or rights and moral norms, and um, which is like any rights or moral norms that are in place given any one culture. You have to observe those things. You have to um, not go out of line with those. You have to stay in line, and you have to use those as a guide depending on where you are. Um, and thus, using Li, you can become a high person of high moral refinement, um, and that kind of you kind of go through self transformation through Haushui, or self cultivation, or love of learning, via you um, get education, but you also find a talent that you have, and you learn things, and you work and you learn by doing. Um, you know, Confucianism has a very rigorous work ethic, where you learn by doing. You do things, and you cultivate yourself, in that you transform yourself and you do things. Basically, that's kind of what that is. You learn things by doing them, um, and that's by observing Li, and by cultivating any talents that you have, or doing any one few certain things. And that kind of ends in Ren. Or Ren has to do with the person, or humaneness, or benevolence, or compassion, to where you are a person. You You are you came into the world as a raw piece of jade. You polish yourself, and you can become Ren. Um, Ren being a person of high benevolence, compassion, humaneness, but it's also the central idea of Ren is the person. You enter the world as a human being, but you become a real human being by becoming Ren. You become the person, the real person by becoming Ren. And so via how shui or self cultivation, you do in a way insert a purpose into your life. Now there is a religious aspect here, but it's a indirect way. There is Tien or heaven, um, or spirits, which indirectly, show you things, and you have to they tell you things, and you as a person do things, and you doing things that they reveal to you is the actualization of their will and of what they want. So that's kind of an indirect way. um, Tien doesn't give you a purpose as Jesus and God does, or as Allah does. It's not as direct as that. So in a way, it is humanism because of um, it is a humanism because of how you do insert some sort of purpose in your life. But either way, you move towards some sort of Ren, end. So that's kind of what I was thinking about. I was thinking about how Confucianism does relate to humanism, how those two things do, in a way, um, are the same thing. And you are focusing on the person. That's the thing about humanism, is that you're focusing on the person, and through Ren, you are focusing on the person. Through Haoshui, you are focusing on the person. You are making it about the person and about becoming a better person, really. So